always the very best of interviews comes when Kenny Ray's in studio or absolutely remote. You don't necessarily like remote, do you?
I hate remote. Now I want to clarify. I love BCB Live.
Right.
I love y'all's staff, but I hate doing remote. It's because of my age and not being comfortable with technology.
Yeah, I tell you what, I don't like the other end when I don't know what they're getting. I mean, I know what I'm getting, but I don't know what they're getting, and I'm sure what they're getting is not necessarily what needs to be getting, right? I mean, they need a little bit better picture.
Well, the last time I was on with y'all, and Bryce knows this, I was sitting on the side of the road in Houston, and I was just talking away.
He sure was.
And y'all couldn't hear a thing. And I didn't know it, you know?
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, you know what? We try here. We try to make it work for us in the long run. I'll tell you, Kenny, first of all, weird chain of events unfolded yesterday in the news. Before we get to safety, I just wanted to ask you from a law enforcement deal. Weird chain of events occurred last 10 days with the breakout of the Alabama inmate with a corrections officer.
Yeah.
Out on it. She sold her house, sold all of her belongings, and then they went on the lam. She got him out, and they went on the lam for 10 days, and it ended in tragedy yesterday.
Yeah.
Where she took her life and her own life before being captured, and he was recaptured.
Yes.
That is that's scary. I mean, for the public at large, right? I mean, as a correction, I mean that's a scary situation. That doesn't happen that's kind of a Bonnie and Clyde type story.
Right. Yeah.
And
you know, Dave, my last 10 years with DPS, I was in the Texas Rangers, and I dealt with more than one jail escape. And normally, the thought where people think about somebody tunneling out of a jail or doing some sort of that normally doesn't happen. Jails are too secure for that now.
Right.
So normally what will happen, you'll either have a trustee that's been given outside status and he or she just decides to run off.
Right.
Usually that's without a plan. Or you have something like what happened in Alabama where you have insider information. You had a jail staff member who not only was a jailer, she was a supervisor.
Right.
So it gave her authority over her staff that she could plan that out. And like you said, she had made financial arrangements. She already had cars planted, getaway cars. And so that was a well thought out plan on her part. Now with her deceased, and obviously she committed suicide, she killed herself.
Right.
The good news about all that is the fact that convicted murderer is back in jail.
Agreed.
He's a dangerous guy.
Agreed.
And he needed to be in jail. But the whole thing's a tragedy.
Absolutely.
You know, they interviewed her mama, and her mama just said, that's so out of character for my daughter. I don't know what's going on. And my heart breaks for her.
Absolutely.
You know.
A tragic situation unfolded. It was just I saw this story, and it was confusing, right? You don't know, because a trusted official.
Yep.
And this goes on, and it doesn't happen very often. That's why I guess it's in the news is what it is. But I'm very happy for the public at large that guy probably will never see the light of day.
You bet.
Ever again.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that, right?
Absolutely.
I'm okay with that. Well, anyway, I just wanted to touch on a couple of events, current events. Look, you're in here, DPS officer. We don't talk about it very often. I wear a sign every day.
I love it.
I wear a traffic sign every day just to make sure that we identify signs and we see them out there, we recognize them out there, and we follow them out there. How many times do we not, I know about stop signs. Stop signs, we don't even have to read them anymore. They're just a part of our deal. We see them. We know what they are. You can even take the word stop off of it. People would stop, right, at the stop, that octagonal sign. They would come to a stop and then go on. But my deal is we need to pay attention to road signs. They mean so much. There's so much information that's out there. I even have the Bible, the traffic sign Bible that comes out.
Yeah.
Just so that I have, good information. It tells how far away a sign's supposed to be, in what order they need to be in. But they also sign identification.
Yeah.
There are thousands of signs.
Yes.
And there are thousands, and they all mean something.
Yes.
Now, a lot of them that we see on a regular basis, we pay, that we speed limits. And like this one, this is just roundabout up ahead, caution roundabout, entering a roundabout up ahead. But there are signs out there that I think people don't know what they mean. I think truck drivers do a great job. They see them more and have a better recognition of signs out there. But how important are signs seriously, how important are signs out there?
Well, they're very important. And you mentioned that some people don't recognize them. I travel a lot, and I find myself, if I'm in another state outside of Texas, some of the other states, we're supposed to have uniform signs across the nation, right, so we don't have that issue.
Right.
But some signs are kind of local in nature,
right,
and I've even looked at them and I don't even know what that means. I really don't. And I've been driving 50 years. I'm trying to decipher, what does that mean?
Yeah.
But generally, signs that are black and white are regulatory in nature. That's law.
Right.
You don't have a choice, okay?
Right.
And yellow signs are advisory in nature. Right. That's like slowing down for a curve. It's giving you the projected speed. And one thing I always like to mention this, because I know the majority of y'all's listeners are truck drivers, and they're very good truck drivers. But those speed advisory signs through corners, those are designed for passenger cars in good weather.
Correct.
And so
not trucks.
No, and the National Safety Council even recommends that trucks reduce the speed by half.
Yeah.
And particularly if you're pulling a tanker or something that's got the cargo moves.
Right.
Where you got slosh and surge. I come out of the hazmat tanker world, and we stress that with our drivers. So
we do the same here on BCB Live. We try to make sure that we understand. We go through signs on the road, especially curves that where it gives you a slow down and it tries, and it also has rollover danger. Yes. I mean, there's the potential for rollover is there, and you got to pay attention to that. There's a reason that sign's actually there.
Absolutely.
Most of the time, they didn't just put it up because they thought it might be okay.
Yes.
It's probably because a truck is already overturned in that area, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that doesn't just they don't just walk up and go, you know what, let's put a sign over here today. Well, then probably the third rollover, they said, you know what, we need to warn somebody.
Yeah.
And those kinds of things are important. And when I go out there, and a lot of the signs I wear are traffic pattern signs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or railroad, because a lot of people don't really have a lot. Those are so dangerous. I am a big safety guy when it comes to railroads because they are unforgiving.
Yeah, the train always wins. 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And in Texas, with us being such a rural state,
right,
we've got so many
ungated, unlighted.
Most of them don't even have any other than just the old wooden sign there.
That's it.
Tells you there's a train track,
right,
and that's all.
Yeah, there's no lights and no gates.
That's correct.
And it makes it dangerous if you're not paying attention, because those trains in those rural areas, they're moving.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're not
rolling speed.
They're moving. They got to move freight, and they're wanting you to pay attention.
Yeah.
Because when you get on their tracks, you're in their territory. But anyway, I digress. I'll tell you what. When we come back, the main reason we have Kenny Ray here, besides his invaluable contribution to everything that we can talk about, is motorcycle safety. But we'll be back. We're going to go to Utility Pro Wear, and I'm telling you, get online, look at Utility Pro Wear. They have some of the coolest stuff out there when it comes to being seen. And if you want to be seen, if you're a teenager or if you're a young adult, you just want to be seen all the time, I'm telling you, that's the stuff you can get. You'll always be seen day or night. But if you're out there doing the hard work, you're stepping out of the truck at night, you're walking across the parking lot, you're doing those things that are dangerous, you also want to be seen 100% of the time. Look on Utility Pro Wear. Go to utilityproware.com for a special discount price. This segment has been brought to you by Utility Pro Wear. Utility Pro Wear manufactures high-quality, ANSI-certified, high-visibility apparel for both men and women. Infused with the Teflon fabric protector, Utility Pro Wear gives you the added benefit of providing a barrier to liquids, dirt, and grime, keeping you cleaner longer, brighter longer, and therefore safer longer. Get your high visibility apparel by going to utilityprowear.com. Use the code BCB20 at checkout for an exclusive discount. All right, and we're back here at BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Kenny Ray. All right, Kenny. First of all, we're going to talk about motorcycle safety. I rode a motorcycle all through college. Yes, I've laid it down and had an accident with motorcycle. But here we're entering into spring, summer, and there's going to be more motorcycles out there on the road, isn't there?
Absolutely.
It's that time of year.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, and you know what? It's fun. I'm not going to lie to you. It is a blast being out on a motorcycle, on an engine, and running around in the sunlight and enjoying the weather and enjoying the sights and having fun. It's going to happen. But talk to us about motorcycle safety.
Well, and one reason that I'm tickled to death y'all are doing this particular segment is because this month, May, is National Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month. And it's held in May, and you just hit the nail on the head because it's motorcycle riding season. Now, for us in the South, we're blessed. We normally can ride year-round.
Absolutely.
Unless we have ice or snow on the ground. But our friends that ride up north, you know, a lot of them, the middle of October, 1st of October, they put their bike up, and they don't even get it back out till the middle of April. So it's just starting riding season for them. But there's more and more motorcycles on the road. Gasoline, $4 a gallon now. A lot of people are looking at it as a necessity for commuting back and forth to work. I got my first, I'm going to age myself here. I got my first motorcycle in 1971. And
what was it?
It was a 125 Harley Davidson.
Wow.
And most people don't even know that for a brief period of time in the late 60s and early 70s, Harley built two small, they were actually made in Italy of all things, and they were two strokes. You had to mix the oil and the gas in the tank. They had a 100cc they called the Baja 100.
Yeah.
And they had a 125 they called the Rapido. And I had a Harley Davidson 125 Rapido. There was nothing about it Harley Davidson. It was all an Italian motorcycle, but it had Harley Davidson on the gas.
That's
tank.
all that mattered, huh?
And I was 11 years old. I was in the 6th grade in 1971, and then 76 I got my motorcycle driver's license. I want to tell you a real brief quick story about that. Motorcycle license is still the one license, particularly if you're under 18 years of age, you absolutely have to still take the driving test. And the driving test for a motorcycle, you got to bring another person with you in a passenger car, and the driver license examiner rides with them and watches you ride the motorcycle.
Exactly.
Well, back then in 1976, it was state troopers, and my person was my mom. So we go to the driver's license office, and my mother finds out a highway patrolman's fixing to get in the car with her and follow me around while I'm riding a motorcycle. And the trooper told my mother, I will tell you as we approach an intersection, if I tell you to honk once, he's supposed to turn right. If I tell you to honk twice, he's supposed to turn left. That's how I knew which way to turn at an intersection. Well, my mother did it right the first time. The second intersection I pull up, she just starts honking the horn. And I didn't know which way to go. And I turned around and looked back, and I could see them talking, and the trooper pointed, and I turned right. So I went up to the next intersection, happened again. And so I'm just sitting there, I don't know where to go. My mother's just honking the horn. And the trooper gets out. This is no exaggeration, Dave. The trooper gets out, walks up, and he says, son, he called me son, your mother is so nervous because I'm in the car with her, she forgets the directions and she honks the horn too many times. And I said, yes, sir. And he said, when you get to an intersection, you just go whichever way you want there. I said, yes, sir. So that was my first experience getting my driver's license. But you mentioned that you laid your bike down. I've had two bad crashes.
Yeah.
I've been riding over 50 years.
Right.
And I've had two bad crashes. When I was in high school, I was on a 400 Honda wearing a helmet, and I hit a dog that ran out of a yard, a chow. Didn't hurt the dog at all, destroyed the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Boogered me up,
Yeah.
okay? And then in 2010, myself and a group of law enforcement guys that belong to a law enforcement motorcycle club, we were in Arkansas riding. A whole group of us were riding together, and a 16-year-old girl made an illegal left turn in front of us, and right into our traffic lane, and two of us hit her. and it almost killed my buddy. They had to life flight him,
Wow.
and then I went to Hot Springs in an ambulance, destroyed $50,000 worth of motorcycles, 2 bikes. And so I've had 2 bad wrecks, both of which you could say were not my fault. But the reason I bring that up, not to tell war stories, is to segue into safety. It doesn't matter who's at fault.
It doesn't.
In a motorcycle.
No,
you mentioned train crashes.
That's a difference.
The motorcycle always loses.
100%.
The motorcyclist always loses. Fault is irrelevant.
That's correct.
You either die or you get hurt very, very seriously on a motorcycle. The last year we have good stats for, 2020, 2 years ago, over 5,500 Americans died. And I'm going to make a point about this. Every time y'all have let me be on the program, I don't normally like to talk about a lot of statistics other than if we can make them very applicable where it means something in people's mind. Because we just throw out the number 5,500. What does that mean? Well, that's 15 people every day. Every day. So today, 15 people riding motorcycles on average will die somewhere in our country. Now, here's the point I want to make to let that sink in. That's every day, Dave. 7 days a week, 365 days a year. 15 people die in motorcycles. If we had a small commuter-style airplane crash every day of the week and 15 people died, Congress would go crazy. I mean, this is an epidemic. But when 15 motorcyclists die, it's no big deal. But it's a big deal to their families.
It is. It's a tragedy, and it's usually more than one family is affected by it. No matter, and not just the victim, but the everyone involved in the accident. It becomes a tragic moment across the board. Many people are badly affected, and it's too many. Anyway, I mean, let's be honest. 15 people today, and then 15 people tomorrow. 15 people yesterday.
Yes, sir.
15 people, and it's going to continue. And really, as we talk about it, and you and I talk about it, in the winter months, it's a whole lot less.
Absolutely.
And then in the summer months, it's a whole lot more.
Yeah.
It may be as many as 25 today.
Yes.
Because in January, there weren't that many out. And we're
Correct.
we're dividing it into 365. So if we think about it today, that's how tragic it's going to get.
Absolutely.
And we've got to understand that here now, we have to pay attention to what's going on out there.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
And I want to brag again on BCB drivers and truck drivers in general. A lot of truck drivers ride motorcycles.
Absolutely.
A lot of truck drivers.
Absolutely.
Do. And there's always been a very respectful relationship between motorcyclists and truck drivers. There's actually very few truck motorcycle crashes. In fact, the ones that occur most often is where the truck driver's doing nothing wrong and a motorcyclist is not paying attention, driving too fast, and slams into the back of the trailer, okay? But with cars and motorcycles, it's different. It's about 40% of all crashes, 4 out of every 10 is the motorcycle by itself, no other vehicle involved. And the 2 things that most often lead to that are speeding and the use of alcohol, okay? Major problems. But that means about 60% of motorcycle crashes involve a car, another vehicle. And by far, the most common way that motorcyclists are involved in crashes, and it's the one I had in Arkansas, is where a four-wheeler, a car, encroaches, fails to yield right away, and all of a sudden is in the lane in front of the motorcyclist.
Correct.
That can be making a left turn. It can be coming out of a driveway.
That happened to me too.
Merging onto the interstate,
Yep.
but failing to yield to the motorcycle. So whenever we talk about motorcycle safety, we always have to look at it from 2 perspectives. One is, what can the motorcyclist, what can bikers do to help reduce that 15 a day? And the second is, what can four-wheeler, what can drivers, just drivers in general do?
Correct.
And we have to understand there's a few basic things that are simply laws. We can't change them. Motorcycles are less visible. They don't have the profile a car does. If you're looking down the highway, particularly if he or she doesn't have their headlight on, a lot of times you don't even see the bike. It's a very narrow profile. It doesn't have the protection that, a lot of motorcyclists kid, they say that people are riding in cars are riding in cages. Well, that may be true, but that cage offers a lot of protection when it comes to a crash. And when it comes to a motorcycle crash, there is no protection. The number one thing by far that motorcyclists can do to reduce deaths and injuries is wear a helmet.
Absolutely.
And I know that's not going to be a popular topic. You know, I'm a retired DPS officer. I'll tell you one story, and I'm going to be very careful about it because you never know who may listen to a broadcast. But I got a call one night when I was a highway patrolman of a motorcycle crash. And I got there, and it was a fatality. Single bike. And wasn't wearing a helmet. And to be respectful of his mother or whoever might hear, I'm not going to say, but he was unrecognizable. I'll just say that, okay? And what stunned me, I was a highway patrolman in the same county where I was raised. And so I was waiting for the judge, Justice of the Peace, to get there to make the death declaration. And when the judge got there, he said, well, let's get his billfold out and see if he's got a driver's license, figure out who this is. And we took that man's driver's license. It's a guy I went to school with. He was in my class. I went to a small rural high school. Everybody knew everybody.
Of course.
I'd gone to this school with this boy my entire life. I'd known him my whole life. I didn't recognize him. He wasn't wearing a helmet. And it was the damage that took place to his body because he wasn't wearing a helmet. You know?
Yeah, and that is absolutely the number one. You know, helmet head injury, that you got to have it. And people don't understand how important. I wouldn't even let people touch my helmet because I didn't want them to drop it. I didn't want them to damage the one chance that I had with that helmet would offer protection. So as soon as the helmet had a spot. Yep. And the helmet never moved from that spot unless it was on my head. And when I got off and I took my helmet off, I'd either carry it or I made darn sure it was strapped up good on the handlebar. I never wanted that helmet to hit the ground because I knew how important that one hit for that helmet was.
Absolutely.
And I wanted it to be when I was wearing it.
In fact, all the manufacturers say, even if you have an accidental drop, the helmet needs to be replaced.
100%.
You've already damaged the structural integrity of it.
100%. Yeah. So, that's how important they are, and that's how good they offer protection.
Yeah.
Because they'll save a life. I wish we had a stat on how many lives they do save.
Yeah.
But I don't. We got seatbelt stats. I really would like to know if we had a stat somewhere about how good helmets save lives because that makes a difference.
Yeah. And you know, Texas is we have a partial helmet law. In Texas, if you're under 21, you have to wear one. Okay. But if you're over 21 and you've either gone through a motorcycle safety course or you carry a special health insurance that specifically says we will provide insurance coverage for you if you're injured in a motorcycle wreck, then you're exempted from the helmet law. But still, man, if there's anything, if I can be passionate, if I can plead, if I can do anything,
right,
I would say, please wear a helmet. You know, I told you, I've been riding since '71, and I'm not trying to brag, I'm just making a statement. Never ridden a motorcycle without one.
I got my YZ125, a dirt bike, when I was in '78.
Yeah.
So not far behind you.
Absolutely.
Not far behind you,
Absolutely.
but it was a dirt bike. But I hit every tree and everything in the paths with that, every hill, and wiped out a million times until I got a street bike in college. But I'll tell you, okay, so what can drivers do?
Drivers, and you know, last time I was on the program, we talked about distracted driving. Drivers have got to be engaged with their driving. They've got to pay attention. I follow y'all's program all the time. I've never heard anybody share this. We all know about blind spots on 18-wheelers. But do you know about 40% of the area around a passenger car is not visible to the driver through the mirrors?
Correct.
So you got about almost half of that vehicle is technically blind spot. So remembering that the number one way that cars hurt motorcyclists is by encroaching on their lane. So anytime we're making a turning movement where we're crossing a lane, we're going through an intersection, we're coming out of a driveway onto the roadway, we realize we are putting that 4,000 or 5,000 pound automobile in a traffic lane. We got to make sure there's not a motorcycle coming. So it's just paying attention. It's being respectful. And one reason we have the National Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month is to do that very thing, to publicize, to remind drivers of cars, hey, there's motorcycles out here. whether you like motorcycles or don't, totally irrelevant.
Correct.
They have a right to be on the highway. They have a right to their lane, and don't exhibit road rage toward them, and just respect them. You know, just be watching for them.
That could be said for just about every driver.
Absolutely.
At every time, whether
Absolutely.
it be motorcycle or driving a car.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, you know, the thing that we see, there's a lot of motorcycle clubs, right? I mean,
absolutely.
There's a lot
Ton
of people, a ton of them that get out there, enjoy run together, and I think they try to run together in packs because they draw a little bit more attention to themselves.
Oh, yeah.
When they're in packs, right?
Yes.
That way they have a better chance of being seen when they're running with other people, right? When they're out there, and believe it or not, it's because there's some safety in numbers.
Absolutely.
It's not because they're the Hell's Angels out there. It's because people notice them more when there's a pack of them.
Yeah.
And they have a better chance of survival when they're out there running. And you know what? The great thing I've noticed when they're out there running, they're typically running the speed limit.
Yes.
They're running together. They're all being courteous and safe together, typically.
Yes.
And they're out there just to enjoy the road.
Yeah.
That's the reason they're a part of that. And to respect that, because that's what they're doing. I think it's a great thing that they do. They get out there to join together so that they have some safety in numbers.
You bet.
And I appreciate that. When I see them, you know, a lot of people go, "Oh, look at that." But I'm like, yeah, that right there makes sense.
Yeah.
100% makes sense.
And you know, when motorcycles are riding in groups, they tend to stagger.
Absolutely.
But if you're looking down a traffic lane as they're coming, you see two headlights.
Correct.
It almost looks like a car.
Right.
When you first glance. And,
Right.
and something says, something's coming here.
Right.
And so you're right, it increases that visibility. You know, every time I see clubs riding, the majority of the ride, and I'm going to use two terms. The majority of the riders, that's the person with their hands on the handlebars, are males still, okay? But the majority of the passengers tend to be females. And I'm going somewhere with this, because I know a lot of your drivers listen to this program, a lot of your drivers ride motorcycles. Regardless of what a guy may think about helmet safety, if you really care about that young lady, and I had a truck driver tell me one time, he said, you know, my wife's beautiful. But he said, there is nothing prettier than looking at her on the back of a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. That was a truck driver talking about, and you know, but I would see him ride, and neither one of them would have a helmet on. And I just want to say, if you're a guy and you really care about that young lady behind you, you ought to have her at least wear a helmet. And let me tell you why. Only about 10% of motorcycle fatalities of the rider, that's the person with their hand on the handlebars, are females. So 90% of the people that die riding a motorcycle are guys, only about 10%. But 90% of the passengers who die are females.
Wow.
That's a staggering number. So we have young ladies on the back of motorcycles getting killed, and the majority of the time they're not wearing helmets. Right. And you know, Dave, you've seen these videos, and I don't find anything funny about them at all. But there's tons of videos on YouTube, primarily of young guys on these big, high-powered sport bikes that'll have a girl on the back, and he'll be running along at highway speed, 45, 50, 60, and then he'll pop a wheelie, and the YouTube video shows her coming off the back, and people watch that and they go, well, look at that, that's so funny. And think about that. If he cares anything about that girl, he just threw her out on that pavement at 60 miles an hour.
Road rashes.
And that pavement's totally unforgiving. And if she's not wearing a helmet, chances are she's going to die, you know. So anyway, if I could preach anything to the men listening, everybody wear a helmet. But if you choose not to and you care about that young lady on the back of that motorcycle, at least make her wear one.
Right. And you know what? They have some cool looking helmets.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't care what style. I don't care what look. They got those cool. They got those. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, they got some cool ones out there that you can get, different colors, different designs. Put your own design on it if you want to.
You bet.
You know, Kenny, thanks for. I tell you what, stick around. We've got some weather. Bob's Dale's gonna come in and do some weather here. But when we come back, we're going to talk about the road check that's coming up
next week.
next week. So let's talk. Stick around. I want to talk to you about that before you get out of here.
Okay. Sounds
All
good.
right. So what we'll do is we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have Double Check Dale do a little bit of the weather and let you know what's going on out there. And we'll have like a little round table action when we come back. We'll be back in just a second.
Hey, good morning. Welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. You got Double Check Dale in front of the camera now, and you got Bryce running the controls. We're going to talk a little bit of weather and then come back and talk safety. And we're going to talk about Road Check 2022 when we do that. Hey, weather today. Guess what? We're going to look at precipitation first. Not a lot going on currently. A little bit of a thunderstorm going on up in Iowa, but other than that, pretty all quiet. A little bit of snow in the upper elevations. Looks like out west, California probably down or past catching a little bit. But as we go into the afternoon, we start seeing some pop-up showers, some pretty intense showers actually up in the upper northwest or up in Wisconsin up through Iowa. But look at this afternoon around 5 o'clock. We also have some thunderstorms developing out in West Texas, up through the Lubbock area into Oklahoma. As that goes into the overnight hours a little bit, we see some of those storms by 9 o'clock this evening. We see some of those storms really intensifying in central Texas. Looks like there's going to be a lot of lightning with it, potential for some flash flooding, heavy rains, and some tornadoes. And then up in Chicago area, Wisconsin, some thunderstorms going up there in the overnight hours also. So if you're up in the Chicago area this evening, be aware there's some thunderstorms, heavy rain, potential for some tornadoes there. As we go into tomorrow, tomorrow morning looks pretty good. Just a little bit of a thunderstorm in south Missouri, a little bit of snow upper elevations in Nevada by tomorrow afternoon. The storms start popping back up again. It'll also be out in that New Mexico, Texas state line, part of the Oklahoma Panhandle. Kansas could see some thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon. So really active weather pattern right now. Let's talk a little bit of wind. It seems like every forecast we've been talking about the winds, that's accumulation. We just want gusts. Currently, the winds aren't too bad, but they really are going to pick up again this afternoon. New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, Arizona, northern Arizona, the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma this afternoon are really going to get windy again. So be aware of what's going on out there with that. Temperature-wise, really going to warm up the next couple days. Hey, this is 4 o'clock this afternoon. Look at all the 90s we have. 90 in Dallas, Oklahoma City, Kansas City. Iowa City is up to 85. St. Louis, 85. Memphis, 88. So very, very warm day today. That's what helps generate those thunderstorms. Tomorrow, as far as temperatures go, much of the same, except the heat even goes a little bit further north. Tomorrow you're going to see St. Paul get up into the upper 80s, Omaha just about 90, Oklahoma City and Dallas in the 90s again. So we have a very, very warm day coming up. The next 3 days, very, very warm days coming up. Today again, the major story is going to be the winds in Utah, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, Wyoming, Texas, and Oklahoma. They're really going to start picking up around 12 o'clock. and they really don't lie down until midnight or later. So, if you're in any of those areas, that southwest area, be very, very aware of the winds and the gusts, because they are definitely going to be happening again today. And with that, we will take a short break.
This segment has been brought to you by Utility ProWear. Utility ProWear manufactures high-quality, ANSI-certified, high-visibility apparel for both men and women. Infused with the Teflon fabric protector, Utility ProWear affords the wearer durable clothing with a great fit to afford the highest degree of safety. Get your high-visibility apparel by going to utilityproware.com. Use the code BCB20 at checkout for an exclusive discount. All right, everybody, and welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Man, we have got the round table going this morning. We got Drive Safe Dave, Double Check Dale, and of course, ever present, always doing the great job, Kenny Ray. Let's talk a little bit about the road check that's coming up next week. Why don't you talk a little bit about it, Kenny? You're here, you've got experience. Tell us about the police officer's viewpoint.
All right. Operation Road Check is a 3-day event, 72 hours. And the reason I stress that is because there are some real differences between how inspections and enforcement is done during that 3-day period versus what a driver would think of as a routine day. And so part of that is, and it starts a week from today, okay? So at midnight next Tuesday, they're going to open, and when I say they, enforcement officers, every scale, every inspection station will open, and it will remain open 72 hours. Now, let me tell you why that's important. Let's say you got a driver that leaves Texas, and his route normally routes him through Oklahoma, and he knows the scales when he crosses the Red River going into Oklahoma, that the majority of the time during the day they're open, but there's certain hours they're not. They'll be open 72 continuous hours. So I'm sharing some of the things that are different about road check versus a routine day. It is known as an enforcement emphasis time for law enforcement. And what that means, and this is important for y'all to share with your drivers, is that a lot of the times whenever a trooper stops a truck driver and inspects the truck, he finds 4 or 5 things wrong. He may write, or she, the trooper, may write up all of those 4 or 5 things. But at the end, and both of y'all have heard your drivers say this, the trooper told me he was giving me a break. These are just warnings. Well, y'all know from the managerial standpoint of running a trucking company that warnings carry the same CSA consequences as a ticket.
Yes, sir.
But the truck driver knows I didn't get a ticket, meaning in addition to whatever else I got to fix on the truck, I don't have to contact a court. There's no legal action tied. Well, during road check, they write a lot of tickets to where not only will they cite those 4 or 5 things they find wrong, but when the trooper gets through at the end, he's going to look at the driver and say, now you need to understand something. I'm filing a charge with the Justice of the Peace in Tarrant County. This is the judge's name. Here's the contact information. You're going to need to contact the court. You're receiving a ticket. So one thing really different is all of the inspection sites will be open 72 hours. They will be writing tickets in addition to the regular inspection items. And every year for road check, the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance, CVSA, picks what they call a focus area, something they're going to especially look at that year. And they don't just randomly say, oh, well, I think this year we'll look at fire extinguishers. What they do is they look at previous years and they find some violation that has at least made their top 10, meaning that it was cited, of all the violations cited in the nation, the top 10, one of those is normally picked for the focus area the following year. This year, the focus area is on what they're calling wheel ends. Wheel, W-H-E-E-L, the wheel, the tire, and the end of that. And what they're trying to do is cut down on the number of duels that are coming off primarily trailers, a little bit on tractors, but more trailers than anything, that are coming apart from the truck and are rolling down the highway at 65, 70 miles an hour, cross the center median of a divided highway and hits another car head on. So what that means is that in addition to looking at all of the things they normally look at on a level 1 or a level 2 inspection, they're really going to focus on wheel ends. So that means lug nuts, studs, cracked wheels. There'll be a trooper either under it on a creeper or in a pit. They're going to be looking, is their wheel seal, is their wheel oil leaking? Has it coated the brake drums? Is it affecting braking efficiency? So they're going to be focusing, now they're going to do the full-blown inspection, but they're going to be focusing on those wheel ends. And the reason I mentioned about tickets, because that is the enforcement emphasis this year. If you get a truck that's got defects in that area, let's say it's missing lug nuts, it's got a cracked wheel, it's got a wheel seal that's leaking, it's got the clear cap on the end of the axle and shows no oil in it at all, not only are they going to put that on the inspection report, those are going to be the kind of items you're going to end up with a ticket over as well. So, and one reason they don't have any hesitancy about doing that is they so publicize this event. They started in January.
Yep,
they started publicizing it in January. So enforcement's position is, not that they're being hard-nosed or anything else, but we've told everybody for 4 months that this is coming. Here's what we're going to look at and be ready for it. So if a truck rolls in there and those things have been totally ignored, the trooper feels no qualms whatsoever about issuing a citation in addition to the items listed on an inspection report.
You know, and you bring up a great point, because not only do they carry the same, but warnings that they carry the same weight on your CSA, but those citations, they come with a fine. They come with a dollar amount associated with them, and they're not cheap.
Yeah.
You know, you get 1, 2, 3, 4. They don't. Then you start talking about some money.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it becomes a big deal. And I'm okay with, believe it or not, here in safety, you know, you have to reevaluate the way you think of it. I'm okay if you find something wrong. Yeah. I get it. That's your job. That's part of trucking. Yeah. To me, it's all part of the bigger picture. Yeah. I want you to find the guys not doing it right. Yeah. I want you to find and locate it. That's a great message to send out to everybody. And if they're looking at wheel ends, they're looking at the tires.
Oh, no doubt.
I mean, they're looking at that. If it's slick, that didn't happen today.
Yes.
You know what I mean? If that is a slick tire, you and I both know that didn't happen out when he did his pre-trip. It wasn't full of tread.
Yes.
I mean, that didn't just happen in the last. In fact, that didn't happen in the last 500 miles.
Yeah.
Also, that oil, that grease that runs up on the rim, that wheel seal that's run up, that throws out. You can tell. We all know as drivers, we all know, whoever it is, when you do your pre-trip, that's how important it is. And don't just say, I'll get to it. Go get it fixed.
Absolutely.
Just go get it fixed. I mean, it's better. And you know what? You might not just not be saving yourself a ticket. You might be saving a life.
Absolutely.
And that's really what it comes down to. Those wheels and the tires that you were talking about leaving, they're so scary because they kill people every year.
Yeah. And you know, Dave, in the last session we talked about some of those YouTube videos of showing motorcycle issue, and I said there was nothing funny about those. There's also tons of YouTube videos showing the duels coming off of 18-wheelers, off of commercial motor vehicles, and some of them are horrifying. You know, none of us have to be physics majors to understand that the laws of physics they're called laws for a reason. They work. And so if that truck's going down the road at 70 miles an hour and we'll say the left side trailer duels come off, they come off at 70 miles an hour.
Yeah.
They don't just roll over into the ditch and fall over like a Frisbee.
No, something stops them.
They keep going until something stops them.
That's
and if
correct.
you look at some of the videos on YouTube of that, you look at some of them, you say, I don't even understand how that happens, because we'll have divided highway that has the concrete Jersey barriers in the middle, or the cables. And those tires, you sit and say, well, it's going to hit that and stop. They hit it, they start bouncing. Next thing you know, they're on the other side.
Correct.
It's still traveling, and you got cars coming that don't have a clue that a 900-pound set of tires and wheels are fixing to come through their windshield.
Correct.
And kill their family. It's horrible beyond imagination.
Yeah.
And I want to share one other thing. We're talking about the difference. A lot of times and are we okay on time?
Yeah, we are. We're fine.
Okay, all right. Okay.
You got all time.
Well, we're talking about the difference between regular inspections and what happens during road check. During road check, everything is done by the book, including out of service. Now, this is important for drivers. Okay. Normally, and I used to be a state trooper, and I was a commercial. We used to call it license and weight back then, but I was a truck cop. Okay. And I'm the son of a truck driver, the proud son of a truck driver. And I always treated drivers the way I'd want my daddy to be treated. So a lot of times if I stopped a driver and he had an out-of-service item, technically he's out of service right there.
Right there.
But I would tell that driver, listen, there's a truck stop 5 miles down the road. You're going to go down there, and I'm going to be there in 10 minutes to check on you. Or if it was really an egregious violation, I would tell him, you're going to follow me at my speed to the truck stop. And I would do that so he or she would have access to fuel. They could get something to eat. They'd be able to take a shower. They'd go to the bathroom. But now, if a truck pulls in to a set of scales or an inspection station and it's out of service, they're going to put during road check, they're going to put a red sticker on it. And you're either going to call road service to come out there, or you're going to call a wrecker out there. So drivers need to understand, if they've got violations that could result in an out-of-service condition, they really need to get those fixed for next week, because if they get found during an inspection, it's not going to be one of these brother-in-law wink, wink, hey, I know you're only 30 miles from the yard, I'm going to go ahead and let you go in. None of that. It's going to be the red sticker, and you're either going to call road service to come out there, or you're going to call a wrecker, one of the two.
And we all know that is not the inexpensive route.
Oh, no.
Right?
If you can even get a wrecker, or get somebody to come out there and work on it.
Yeah, and if they do, it is not. They're not coming out at a cheap. And it's so hard to find, with everything going on. But really, what we're talking about, we have an opportunity. We have a week away. We have an opportunity to go into and affect any change you need to right now. That's what we're talking about. But I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. And I'm just going to make this emphasis. I know we've got road checks coming up next week. You should be out checking your truck every day.
Absolutely.
I mean, you should be doing a great pre-trip every day. Nobody knows your truck better than you. And I'm telling you, if you've been doing this a while, you know what they're looking for. You know what they're looking at. You already know the violations. You already know what's wrong. Go get it fixed. Find the way to get it fixed. Don't get out there on the road. Don't do it. Hey, you know what? I'll just leave it for the next guy. Leaving it for the next guy is that slick tire.
Absolutely.
Leaving it for the next guy will get you in trouble every single time. And why would you leave it for the next guy? What is it? Why would you ever do that? Why wouldn't you I'll tell you what you do. You go get it fixed and you report it. I don't care what company you're with or however you report it, and you let them know that it was left for you.
Yeah.
So they can address that right with the guy that left it.
Yeah.
Because it has to stop somewhere, and I get it. It's going to eat up your day, and I get it. But where's the value in going and getting your run done, or not getting your run done, and you meet somebody today you never intended to?
Absolutely.
You know somebody's name for the rest of your life that you never intended to.
Yeah.
You have that opportunity today if you don't do the right thing every single time, right, Kenny?
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is there is an opportunity to know of a person that you never wanted to for the rest of your life, and that you were sorry that you met them that day.
Absolutely. Totally changes everything.
It changes everything. It changes your life. You have a chance not to do that. And that comes with that's how important just a simple pre-trip is.
You bet.
15 minutes of your day to walk that truck and look.
Yeah.
Drivers can do it just as good as anybody else can. They know those trucks.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, they know those trucks like Dio. They act like they don't know what they're looking at when you're out there with them as a DOT officer, but I guarantee you they know those trucks.
Yeah. And having the truck safe and in regulatory compliance is always a function of two things. It's the driver doing a proper pre-trip or post-trip inspection, and the mechanics fixing whatever they find. And the reason I bring up the mechanics part as well is there are certain things on that truck that we prefer a driver not do. Primarily, we don't want a driver by himself under that truck for safety reasons. So, and I'm going somewhere with this. We're talking about the differences between road check and regular routine. Regular routine duty, the majority of inspections that are conducted are level 2s. Level 2s, no, the trooper does not get under the truck.
Right.
The majority of inspections that are going to be done during road check are going to be level 1s. So on a level 1, there's either going to be a trooper on a creeper underneath, or the truck will pull over a pit and there'll be a trooper underneath. So they're going to be measuring push rod travel on brakes. They're going to be looking at brake pads, disc, the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mechanics need to take care of those things before next week. We can't expect a truck driver to know how to work on the complexities of brakes today. The other thing, I want to share one more thing with you, and I'll answer any question you have. In addition to a lot of truck drivers being big fans of BCB Live, I know this for a fact. There's a lot of safety guys from other trucking companies that watch y'all's program. And y'all are blessed to have Dale and Bob on staff. And they take care of things for y'all here at BCB. But a lot of other safety directors watch y'all's program, and so these kind of things are important for them too. And I'm going somewhere with this. You mentioned about if somebody pulls in with a slick tire, it was slick yesterday. Well, one of the things a driver is absolutely required to do at the end of their day, they have to do a post-trip.
Absolutely.
If they find any violations, those have to be recorded on a DVIR, driver vehicle inspection report. Part of Operation Road Check, if a truck comes into the inspection station with an out-of-service item or a known defect, like this, let's just use the slick tire, okay? If that truck pulls in and that tire's slick, that trooper knows that tire was slick yesterday. So they're going to ask the driver, let me see your post-trip inspection report, your DVIR from yesterday. Now, most of the drivers are doing them now on ELDs. And I'm just going to tell you, this is no indictment of all truck drivers, but this is a problem in our industry. The ELD made doing DVIRs somewhat of a sham, because now what will happen is a lot of drivers, and I'm going to say BCB drivers don't do this, but a lot of drivers out there now are getting to the end of their day. They pull up the inspection form on the ELD and they simply check the box that says no defects found. So if that truck comes in today to the scales and it's got a slick tire, and I asked to see the post-trip inspection report from yesterday and it shows no defects found, I can't actually write a ticket for claiming the driver didn't do a proper post-trip, but what I will do is this, and the reason I mentioned you got other safety directors watch this program, they need to understand there can be some ramifications coming out of road check for the motor carrier, not just the driver. That trooper is going to recommend that trucking company get an audit. And then you're going to have a DPS auditor or a Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration auditor. They're going to come in and they're primarily going to be looking at, are y'all pencil whipping DVIRs? Right. Are you actually doing them? And that happens to be a DOT critical violation that accumulates points on an audit. So even failing to complete the proper paperwork can have ramifications for the motor carrier even after road check's over.
No, that's great to know that that something so simple as a road check can end in an audit.
Absolutely.
And to know that kind of power is available to the trooper that sees an egregious violation.
Yes.
Yeah, especially, and we've all laid witness to what some of the equipment out there that somebody just absolutely ignores. And you know what I'm talking about. You've seen it.
Oh, absolutely.
You've gone up and you don't even know. I've been next to a vehicle and gone, really? You have 2 lug nuts.
Yes.
How do you not have more than 2 lug? Do you not know? And then it's rusted. The wheels are slick. There's no mud flaps. And the guy's in a hurry to go in he's in a hurry to go in and get something to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you not know what you're looking at
Yeah.
here? Do you not understand the dangers that are involved? We don't want those people on the road either. I mean, as a truck driver, I don't want them on the road.
You know, I have never been embarrassed around. Y'all have always treated me like family. I've never been embarrassed around y'all to express my passion. Now, I'm just going to tell you, unashamedly, I love the trucking industry. I
do too.
love
I
it.
do too.
I'm passionate about it.
Me too.
But there's a certain segment of it
Yeah.
that gives all of us a bad name.
Correct.
And if I could wave a magic wand, I'd run them off tomorrow.
Right.
Don't want them in the industry.
Correct.
Okay. I love good drivers that try to do things right,
Me
because
too.
it's those other ones. And a lot of times I speak at a lot of driver meetings. I do safety presentations at driver meetings. And a lot of times I'll tell them when they hear that I'm a former state trooper, you know, a lot of times they'll cross there and I'll overfix to get a lecture from the police. And I always tell them I'm the son of a truck driver, the proud son of a truck driver. I got 2 brothers that are driving as we speak. But when we start talking about violations, you're talking about 2 lug nuts on a 10-hole wheel. I ask drivers, I sit and say, without being critical of the industry, let me ask you a personal, do you want your wife and kids
Right.
out there on the road with that guy beside them,
Yeah.
or coming at them on a 2-lane highway?
Right.
The answer to that universally, no, you don't. So even good drivers don't want to tolerate that kind of stuff in the industry.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me be passionate
No,
about that.
and you know what? We enjoy that, and we want that. You know, it is always a pleasure to have you on the show. It is a great. You're welcome back. You know, we're going to have you back.
Anytime.
There's no doubt in my mind you'll be back in here to talk about the next safety month. Right? We did motorcycle safety this month. We're talking about the checks. If you had one thing to tell everybody today about anything, what would you tell them today? What do you want them to do today?
We have got to stop distracted driving in this country. We just
Amen.
have got to. We've got to be mature men and women and say, when I'm driving a 4,000-pound automobile or an 80,000-pound truck or a 900-pound motorcycle, I am not going to drive distracted. I'm not. If we could just make one change, I'm not going to text when I drive. I live in East Texas. It took me about 2 hours to get over here this morning. And fortunately, at that time of night, it's dark. You can see into other people's cars. I don't know how many cars I passed where it's a person sitting there holding their cell phone up. You know, they're either watching YouTube videos or they're texting. One of the two.
Netflix.
You know, and all I wanted to do was get around them as fast as I could. I didn't want to be anywhere near them.
Right, I understand.
So we got to stop distracted
We do.
driving.
It is an epidemic and I think it has a lot to do with education and understanding what the consequences. We're not all infallible. It took a long time for people to change on seatbelts.
Absolutely.
And it's going to take a while, but we're going to figure it out. I truly believe there's going to have to be I think a car manufacturer is going to actually have to come along the way and just say, you know what, your phone's disabled.
That's right.
You know what, when you drive it, when this car's moving, your phone's disabled. You don't got a choice.
That's right.
I mean, I think at some point we're going to have something come along and just help us.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we're just not smart enough, I think. It's not that we're in denial of the danger.
Yeah.
We're in denial that we're doing something wrong. And I think that's really the epidemic. All right, everybody. Hey, look, we've had a great time here with Kenny Ray. We've had an awesome day. I'm going to go ahead and close with a quick prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we gather before you today to ask for your grace in all things. Father, we want to thank you for the message today given by Kenny Ray and all of the great information that came along to help us to be better today. Father, we also ask that you give us the courage to go out and make a difference, to make a change, to make it different today so that we can be better at what we do. Father, give us this ability and this courage and strength to move in your light, to make it better for everybody out there, and help us to be a blessing upon somebody else's life today in some way. Father, we ask that you keep us safe, protected, and mindful of others. We ask all these things in your name. We pray amen. Everybody have a great, wonderful day. We as a group out here want you to be safe. We love you. We'll see you later.